please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Presented there, Natalie. That was quite a move. John, if you don't mind doing roll call, that would be great.
Yes, in Carla's absence, I'll do the roll call of the board members. Mrs. Emerson?
Here.
Mr. Zeliff?
Here.
Mr. Stabell?
Here.
Mr. Lamb?
Here.
Mrs. Younger Davis?
Yes, here.
Mrs. Thompson?
Here.
And Mrs. Benjamin.
Thanks, John. If you don't mind, I'm gonna steal this back here. Okay, we have one presentation tonight, and that's you guys. You guys got it. Please.
So we're going to present to you the final recommendations for the 25-26 budget. Unfortunately, we're kind of in the same spot that we were the last month or so. The governor has not come up with her executive budget, so we're doing the best we can with the numbers that we know. Obviously, school districts this week have to approve their budgets in time for the budget vote on May 20th. So these are going to be our final budget recommendations and hopefully adoption of the budget this evening moving forward. Obviously, the first foundation aid runs, we were given our minimum 2% increase going into next year, which is roughly around $200,000. Our total state aid decrease, taking in all the aid runs, is about a negative $242,000. Obviously, the House budgets are calling for a 3% minimum increase, which would be an extra $100,000 for OA. Considering what we know right now, this budget does include the 3% minimum, just because the governor seems to be more set on policy rather than any financials moving forward. So we do believe that she will take the recommendation of the House budgets and give us our 3% minimum. I guess I'll turn it over to Scott and Laura for the different categories.
So this is really where we started and still are in terms of exacting numbers from the executive budget. And as John indicated, the only thing that's changing in this proposal is adding approximately $100,000 to foundation aid for a total aid package of $16.293 million, which you'll see on a subsequent slide. Just to review again, the pilot agreements, there's 4 pilot agreements to be included in the 25-26 budget. That's up 1 from the prior year with Edwards Vacuum starting in the 25-26 school year. Again, the property tax cap, bottom line, it is a negative property tax cap year. The way things have worked out, largely impacted by the new Edwards Vacuum pilot agreement, which affects that pilots for the coming year number at a little better than $1.1 million in total. And if you look up above the prior year pilots, you can see a pretty substantial difference there, which plays dramatically into the bottom line. So as John said, the executive budget included the minimum 2% foundation aid increase. The Assembly and Senate both came out with proposals to, that's actually a typo, it should be 3.0. One came out at 3.0 and the other at 2.9, so approximately $100,000 additional for the district on in foundation aid. So the tax cap calculated again a negative 2.61%. That is down a little bit from an earlier presentation. It was about 1.73%, and that's the result of reducing the transfer to capital line by $50,000 in an effort to help balance the budget. So the tax levy that is budgeted on the revenue side is at 2.5%. The fund balance and reserve picture, the appropriated fund balance is reduced by $242,000 from the current year, and it would include the use of $479,000 of reserves to balance the budget. That $479,000 represents approximately 10% of the total reserves projected for year end, June of 25. Which is depicted here. You see the 5 different reserve accounts that have been established over time, and the 2 reserve funds that are being targeted to be used as revenue, the unemployment reserve and the ERS reserve. The reason those are targeted is looking at your fund balance report that was presented to the board this past fall. It clearly outlined these 2 reserves as being overfunded in regard to the methodology that you've adopted. Even so, by using $150,000 out of the unemployment and $329,000 out of the ERS, they will still both be quote unquote overfunded per the methodology that you've been using. So if we look at the revenue budget in its entirety, you can see total state aid. The executive budget was 16.193. This budget is now projected at 16.293 for total state aid. Tax levy's up 2.5%. The pilots, as we've discussed, and all the other revenues are fairly consistent year over year. The $69,000 increase for the other revenue, almost all of it comes from interest rates rebounding and being able to be more aggressive in budgeting for interest income. Appropriated fund balance, there's that $242,000 decrease, and the use of reserves at $150 and $329. So overall, the budget's up year over year, $533,000. With salaries, again, as we've talked, the staffing reflects the impact of 7.0 FTEs. In teacher retirements, only one of those to be replaced. And a number of salaries are dependent on federal grants. So this budget assumes the current level of funding carries forward to the next budget year. Benefits increased double digits for medical and prescription premiums, dental up 5%. TRS rate actually went down slightly. ERS went up quite a bit, a double digit increase year over year. So debt service is as scheduled per the existing debt that's outstanding. You'll have a bond anticipation note that will be established early July to fund the capital project, and then that presumably will go to permanent financing a year later, and that a decision on that, whether it's DASNY or whether you go to market yourself, that'll really be a market condition decision at that point in time. So there's nothing new in principal and interest, coming into 26, 27 due to the timing of the borrowing, as the ban won't hit until the 26, 27 school year. And again, the transfer to capital was reduced by 50,000. All the equipment requests were included, except you see those lined out items. Pickup truck with plow and some proposed wrestling equipment. Natural gas and electric budgets are getting hit a little bit, so we felt it necessary to adjust those budgets in a material way going forward. You got bus purchase recommendations of $454,000, and the balance of all other equipment is a little better than $84,000. So when we put it all together, all the expenditure categories, the total comes in at $25,555,345. A lot of fives. Make it easy to remember. So you can see the various increases, decreases there as we've talked, and hasn't been any change in that since mid-March. Again, that's the overall budget to be proposed, and year over year, 2.13% increase. So this is really just to summarize, I guess. The district is anticipating 3% increase on foundation aid. Pilots are, of course, been taken into account. The negative tax cap at 2.61, and a supermajority will be necessary to pass this proposed budget. No additional items were added in terms of staffing programs.
As we had mentioned, 6 of the 7 staff positions through retirement, what we call through attrition, adds up to about $600,000. We are replacing one of those that's obviously, needed by the district up at the high school to continue our foreign language. We have eliminated our summer school programming, which is around $11,000. We are reducing our technology staffing, which was a 0.6 FTE, was a BOCE service that we were paying for, roughly saves us about $83,000. I am in the process of working with the Genesee County Sheriff's Office. As you are aware, Jordan has been promoted and is going to be working through us through to the end of June. And then moving forward, we will have to interview and hire a new school resource officer. Now is the time to switch that to a 10-month contract. Number one, Jordan was, obviously top tier with his experience. Not knowing who we're going to get, certainly that contract will change. We're looking at roughly about a $20,000 to $25,000 savings there. Plus, we're also not having our summer activities this summer, so we felt the need to go back to a 10-month SRO. We do have a meeting tomorrow with the Genesee County Sheriff's Office and the area superintendents to hopefully work on some sort of funding or some sort of contract to reduce the cost of having a school resource officer. They are very expensive, and unfortunately the economic climate that the districts are in, it's really kind of bending us as far as expenditures go. Obviously, we are overriding the tax cap of negative 2.61 and providing a 2.5% tax increase. The community will receive a budget newsletter and notification that we will need a supermajority, which is 60% to pass the budget. Again, we are assuming a potential increase of the 1.0 foundation aid when the governor's budget comes out, which will add $100K to our revenue, so to say. We reduced our fund balance $242,000, and we're using about $480,000 in reserves to cover the remaining gap that we do have. So again, our general fund total appropriations expenditures are $25,555,245. With the adoption of the budget, the next on the agenda is to approve the property tax report card, which needs to be done within 24 hours. We will submit that, and we will obviously get the newsletter out, some information, and our annual budget hearing will be held on Tuesday, May 13th at our board meeting at 6 o'clock. And then obviously our board meeting will follow, and the budget vote will take place on Tuesday, May 20th, a week later, from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Site to be determined, either it will be in here or in the library or out in the hallway, as we're, moving some teachers with their capital projects, so we'll get that information out. That's where we're at.
Any more questions, guys?
It's pretty much everything we've heard right in the last few months, so not too many changes.
Correct.
Thank you guys for working over the break and holiday weekend to provide us with all of this as well, so thank you for that.
Okay, thanks for the presentation, Scott. The recommended action here is that the Oakfield-Alabama Central School District Board of Education, upon the recommendation of John Fiskus, Superintendent of Schools, does hereby adopt the 2025-2026 budget in the amount of $25,555,345 to be presented to the residents of the Oakfield-Alabama Central School District on May 20th, 2025 for a vote. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thanks, man. Can I get a second? Thanks, Maria. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now for the property tax report card, be it resolved that the Oakfield-Alabama Central School District Board of Education approve the 2025-2026 real property tax report card as presented. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I'd like to call this meeting at 4:47. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, thanks, guys.